All right. Welcome to our Historic Preservation Commission hearing, City of Glendale, for October. It is 5:15 p.m. and I'm going to go over a couple of administrative matters, and then we'll get into the meeting. Meetings are broadcast live on Glendale TV, viewable on Spectrum Cable, Channel 6, and AT&T UVerse Channel 99. Meetings are also streamed live in high definition, HD, on the city webpage, glendaleca.gov/live, on youtube.com/myglendale, and on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, iOS, and Android devices using a free app called Cablecast and choosing Glendale TV from the menu. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Call 818-548-4013 for program schedules. For public comments and questions during the meeting, call 818-937-8100. Public comments on a specific agenda item will be taken when that agenda item is discussed. If you have any question about matters on the agenda or requests for assistance, please contact the city clerk at 818-548-2090 during regular business hours. For those of us in here, we're going to shut off our cell phones or put them in airplane mode. Mine's already there. And welcome. Let's have roll call.
Thank you, Chair Paul. Commissioner Bartanian?
Here.
Commissioner Cusack?
Here.
Commissioner Durham?
Here.
And so Commissioner Head is absent today. And Chair Paul?
Here.
Let the record show that there is a quorum tonight. Thank you.
All right. Wonderful. There's a quorum. Agenda item 2, reports regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the October 16th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Historic Preservation Commission was posted on October 13th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Do I have an approval of the minutes or any changes or comments regarding those minutes? Commissioner Durham.
If there are no comments, I'll move to approve the minutes.
Okay. Second.
I second that.
Okay. We have approval.
Thank you so much.
All right. Great. So the approval of the Historic Preservation Commission minutes from September 18th, 2025 is done. Okay. So we are on to agenda item 4, oral communication. For oral communication, discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Glendale Historic Preservation Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. I have one speaker card here. Do we have any callers for this item?
We don't have any callers, but we do have a presentation for the speaker.
Okay, and I believe that presentation is probably Mr. Ellen Dish. So if you want to come up and give your presentation.
Thank you, Chair Paul and Commissioners. Good evening. My name is Alan Dish. Staff, thank you so much for accepting the presentation. I would like to continue my presentation about the first Armenian in Glendale. My desire is, of course, to provide a grounding, rootedness for the Armenian community in the city, which I am a part of. So the first Armenian, ostensibly, is James B. Normart, born in 1843 in Erzurum, Ottoman Armenia, who immigrated to the U.S. in 1987 and was naturalized in 1893. He was one of 5 brothers and 3 sisters of the prestigious Normart family, converts to Quakerism, and indeed his older brother Frank, which you see pictured there, was the first known Armenian to visit Fresno already in 1874. And he set the stage basically for further immigration of Armenians there. So Frank, who arrived in 1871, first to Philadelphia, then moved to Fresno, he opened the illustrious Normart Cyclery, bicycle store, but you also see tanning, taxidermy, gun and locksmithing, and so on. So he married Mary Gardner Normart, and then in 1895, basically, James B. Normart, his brother, married Mary's sister, younger sister, Eliza Gardner. And then, next slide, please. You see here, in 1896, they together, James and his wife, Eliza, moved to Glendale, and under her name, bought Lot 16 of Watt subdivision of Rancho San Rafael, which is Glendale, and it was at the corner of San Fernando Road and Park Avenue, which you will see in this slide, which is the following. Yes, this is highlighted in red, the corner of San Fernando and Park Avenue, now Chevy Chase. So they bought Lot 16, and the eastern portion of which you see on the next slide will be renamed Normart's Tract under Eliza's name. And you see even the city has a portion of it. Basically, it's an electric substation. But even I was correct. You remember I said Tropico Motel. So more or less, unfortunately, the house they had, which I have the red pin on, is no longer there. That was where their Bars Dune, which I talked about last time, was. Now it's a kind of shopping mall. So let me continue. James B. Normart, well-connected. He had many guests, at, connections to doctors, priests, business people, and he was active in the community. In the next slide, you will see that that's the location of Tropico, yes, but we can move on. He was a foreman or construction worker, basically, of the Pacific Art Tile Company, and I was so privileged to find the tile. I'm so sorry, but I want to show it. You, Ani, are collecting the furs. I am collecting the tile, but it's very nice that he's listed here as an employee already in 1902. This is today popular for tile hobbyists, this place in Tropico, but today it's the Costco and Best Buy shopping center, which is in the next couple of slides. If you can quickly just breeze through, there is. Yes, okay, but we can go basically to his property soon. Besides his social activities, like he visited the San Fernando Mission in 1901. I mean, together they did, he and Eliza, and ranching activities. They were engaged in real estate, so they bought at least 6 houses and then sold them. This is the one that I found intact. It's still there, 202 East Garfield. I found many references basically to it in the papers. It's still in use, which is nice, and Mr. Platt confirmed it has a certain designation already. But you see, he already was selling it 2 years after he built it in 1910. Quickly to move on, it's nice to know many of his other, you don't have to read this, of course, this is just to prove that I've been doing some research, like writing it all down. Many of his properties didn't survive. One's a Lexus dealer, the other is the Garfield campus. Notably, if we can skip to this one, yes, pause here, because this is, it shows how he is recognized, Mr. James Normart, for
Alan,
being...
just a second. Yes. So was that the timer that went off?
We have 10 seconds. Yeah.
Can I give him like 2.5 more minutes?
Sure.
Okay,
I'll lead-
you have 2.5 more minutes
yes,
total.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. This is just a reference in the 1913 paper, which says that James Normart was the first patron, basically, of the post office of the city. And it's nice that it mentions that the post office was in competition with, it says, the Wells Fargo company monopolies. So here you see a kind of dedication to the state, or helping basically the local government. The final story with which I will conclude is this fascinating tale of how he became heir among 42 others of a whopping sum of $85 million. This is that international Armenian capital, kind of famed, but it's a very peculiar story. To summarize, some famous wrestler passed away in Turkey around the 1780s and left his money in the Bank of England and said only after 120 years can this money be accepted. And what happens then is the Sultan the Ottoman Empire basically is in financial troubles and decides, no, let's split the money between the bank and myself. But then the Young Turks take power, give the estate basically to the Armenian church and say, let's find the heirs. And that's how they track down the Normarts. Unfortunately, World War I breaks out, and the money, I think, is never, they don't get the money. So I will follow and try to find the money. But thank you so much. Thank you.
Alan,
Yes,
would you mind if we looked at the tile?
absolutely. No, no.
Great research.
Yeah, really great. That's gorgeous.
Where did you get the tile from? Where'd you find it?
The mic, yes. Wells in downtown. It's called Wells Antiques. Maybe you know it, but it's a very special, precious place. Even on the back, you see in fainted, it says tropical.
That's really cool.
And what an honor that you also have been part of this research. And so I will continue. I will continue doing this, but I hope you have a good rest of the meeting. And if you have any other ideas, I will stop.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Kusek, and thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair
Okay.
Paul, Mr. Bartyan.
Thank you. Okay,
Mr. Durham,
great.
and staff. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, great. So, very interesting, fascinating, and I just love how passionate you are about this. And I really hope you're thinking about getting a PhD at some point in history. So, okay. So, all right, so let's see here. So now, are there any other, do we have any callers or anything for agenda item 4?
No callers.
Okay, so I'm going to close oral communication, okay? Okay, board or commissioner member comments. Do we have any board or commissioner member comments? Thing? Okay.
Staff has a comment, and so we put this flyer on all of your chairs when you entered. We just want to say that there is going to be a photography exhibition coming up by Arlene Vidor. Opening reception is October 25th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the ACE 121 Gallery, which is just walking distance from here. It's going to be on view from October 25th to November 22nd, and it'll include photography of historic Glendale sites. So if you guys are interested and if the public is interested, it should be a very interesting art exhibition. So thank you.
Oh, and Ani, why are we mentioning this?
I don't know, Jay, do you want to share anything else? Oh my gosh.
Well, Arlene Vidor was a longtime member of HPC and chair for many years, so we thought it
Yes.
would be a nice tie-in, so.
Wonderful.
Yes, exactly, yeah. And I
Yeah.
didn't mean to make it sound ominous or spooky.
Yeah, so yeah, Arlene's fantastic, and she's been very just dedicated. Do you know Arlene? Yeah, she's very, very passionate. So we go way back. I landmarked the Art of Ean House back in 2005. And I remember meeting Arlene on that back when Sally McGeller was around, if some of you knew Sally. So, okay, great. So we have that. I want to bring up something. I don't know if this email went to all of you. Jay, I know this went to you and Bradley. I got an email from Francesca Smith about an ADU situation.
Be able to talk about this?
Okay, we can't talk about it? Okay.
Not agendized.
But it's board and commissioner comments, right?
There is 100% unfactual and misguided information in that email.
Okay, that's fine.
100%.
Okay, just so you know, I haven't spoken with her.
That's
I
fine.
just received an email and I didn't know if, okay, so then
We'll be discussing this sometime
some
tomorrow.
other time. Okay, that's fine.
Not us, she and I.
Oh, you and her. Okay, very good, very good. All right, that's all. Fine. So, all right, now, do we have any old business to discuss? Nothing? Okay. All right, so we're done with agenda item 6. Now, Jay, you and I talked a little bit before the meeting about moving agenda item 8A up before our new business. And this is regarding Robert's Rules of Order and meeting format update. So I'm going to move that item up here. And if you want to go ahead and begin talking about that.
Sure. Part of it could affect how we hear the next item about the Glendale Register Mills Act item. First, last month, we discussed the concept of passing the gavel, and I wasn't fully up on how that works. We've seen it happen at city council meetings on occasion, and so I did some background research. Roberts isn't 100% useful for that. There's an interesting website called JurassicParliament.com that kind of talks about Robert's rules and says that somewhere buried in here is a discussion about large format meetings and small format meetings, meaning large boards and commissions and smaller ones. Smaller meaning, I think they break it down less than 12 members versus Congress kind of stuff. So for example, in Congress, when the Senate is meeting, the vice president isn't always in the room ready to break a tie. The vice president comes to the room when they feel there's going to be a tie. They may even have to wait to call the vice president to come in to break a tie. Speaker of the House doesn't generally vote in the House of Representatives, only when there's going to be a tie. So that's how the big meetings work. The small meetings are different, where the chair pretty much is always going to be voting. The mayor in a small council is always voting on every item. So that's kind of not an issue. In general, though, even in the small meetings, and the issue had been, can or should the chair make a motion in a small setting? So the recommendation of this is, there's no rule against the chair making a motion, but the recommendation is that the chair not make a motion, that the other board members seated at the dais be the ones who make a motion, and that the chair not do that. But again, it's not a rule, so if it came up, I think I said the chair can't make a motion, so I was incorrect in that. But practice should be that we try to avoid that if we can, and I don't know why we couldn't unless everyone was tongue-tied or unable for whatever reason to make a motion. If everyone was uncomfortable with the hearing item and we were going to be stymied and the chair is like, okay, well, I'm going to make a motion, then that's cool. There's no reason for the chair not to. The other issue would be, and this has come up at council, where on particularly contentious items, which we generally are pretty copacetic here and don't have these contentious items, but I've seen a few times where someone makes a motion and doesn't receive a second, and so it dies. Someone else makes a motion, doesn't receive a second, it dies. Things start devolving, and it just gets like, what's next? What's going to happen? So in that case, I've seen the mayor kind of choose to try to make a motion. In doing so, they have to pass the gavel. So that's the only time I've noticed that happening in council. There may be other situations. I didn't talk to the city attorneys about this, and I don't think we really need to dive in that deeply, unless you guys ask me to, and I will. But in general, I think we operate kind of within the normal realm of what Jurassic, I want to say Jurassic technology, what Jurassic Parliament is telling us. But as I'll be honest, I have this book. I haven't read every page of it. But I did leaf through it and the index trying to find this kind of stuff, and I didn't find this breakdown of large format bodies versus the smaller ones. But it did seem pretty up and up reading this other website. So I don't know if you have any thoughts or questions about that, but that's, I think, pretty sound direction.
I think this is good information. I would assume, if I was like new to this and out of nowhere with this, I would have assumed that the chair could make a motion just like anybody else could, because the chair is kind of in charge of the meeting. But it almost seems counterintuitive, but it makes perfect sense and it's fine. But I think it's good information to know, so that the preference for Jurassic Parliament, is that what this? Wow, okay, is that, so just so we all know, so I probably, as long as I'm chair, I probably won't be making any, I'm just gonna wait for one of you to make a motion. And maybe as a backup, I will, but just so we know moving forward, I won't be doing that.
Yeah, and it kind of goes along with the idea, and city council breaks this all the time, but in general, the mayor slash board chairman slash commission chairman usually speaks last, because you're the tie-breaking vote if we have a 2-2 situation. So generally, the chair withholds their decision. The power of the chair, as I understand it, and again, we don't see this at play so much here or at DRB, but at council, you see it all the time. The chair's power is in selecting who speaks first, because in the Machiavellian world of local politics, they know who's where, and there's discussions, and so they can kind of, if they know where people stand and they want the argument to begin at a certain place or at a certain level, they'll say, would you like to go first? I've seen that at DRB sometimes, but some boards don't do that, and it kind of depends who's chair. So that's how I've understood the power of being chair to play out. But most of the commissions that I've worked with HPC and a lot of DRB boards, usually it's like, who'd like to go first? And it's just kind of open it up, and whoever says me gets to talk first, and there's no maneuvering or Machiavellian stuff going on. But in general, since the chair ideally is kind of weighing in last, since their vote may be the one that's making a decision in case there is a split vote. But that's not a rule. I'm not going to jump in and talk about that. Which leads to the second part of the discussion, if you don't have any other questions. Alan?
I have a question about the chair and seconds. So another member of the commission makes a motion, and no other regular member seconds it, and the chair agrees with that motion. Should the chair just remain silent and let it die and potentially make his or her own motion later?
I don't think so. There's kind of stuff where if the chair can either vote into the majority to bring something that's 2-2 up to a majority, or the chair can vote into the minority, which wouldn't, I was trying to think how this would work, but they were talking about if we had a four-person quorum and two, or let's think how this would work. If we had a 3-person quorum and it was a split vote, and the chair did not want it would have to be a 4-person. So we have a 2-1 vote, and the chair did not want the item to pass. The chair would then vote against the item, so it was 2-2, because any 2-2 vote does not pass. So that would be why the chair would vote against the project, or whatever it is. But in terms of your question, I'm not sure that we would say that the gavel had to be passed so the chair could second. I'd have to think about that or ask that question, I guess,
But regardless of passing the gavel, the chair could second a motion if there's no other second.
if
and
no
it's
one
about
else
to
is
die.
seconding it and they honestly believed it, I don't see why not, yeah.
Okay.
So moving to the second part of this, talking about just the procedure for these meetings, Ani and I are staff liaisons to the commission, and we have the same other staff serve as liaisons to the Planning Commission and to DRB. I used to be the staff liaison to DRB also. So our role is to keep some level of order at the meetings. And I used to get direction from one of our former directors that DRB was kind of going off on tangents that we shouldn't allow them to. And I was told specifically to kind of reel things back in sometimes with DRB. I'll be honest that I don't think our people have always paid as much attention to HPC as they used to DRB. But I've been noticing that there's kind of a looseness to our meetings that is partly my issue. Because I love getting involved in the scrum of discussion, and I have fun having the back and forth. And that's my thing. And I realize that we need to be a little more disciplined without shutting down any dialogue, without shutting down any of the conversation. So what I mean by discipline is particularly in our relationship with the applicants and the speakers. So the way a hearing should work is that we, the chair announces the item, turns to staff for a staff report. Questions are asked of staff. Hopefully you get all of those questions out early, which means ideally you come prepared to the hearing with having read the staff report. Hopefully you visited the property. Hopefully you've thought about it a little bit. I know time's tight and you're not always going to do that, but to the best of your ability, please do that. And then we go back and then you open the public hearing, which means that the applicant speaks, the applicant's consultant speaks, anyone in the audience speaks, anyone on the phone speaks. After all of that happens, after the applicant speaks, you can ask questions of the applicant. Other people speak, you can ask questions. Usually we don't engage in a back and forth with the public speakers. There's no rule saying you can't, but that just generally doesn't happen. But the issue of closing and opening public hearing is really important. That's one of the things that the chair is responsible for. If I notice that we're kind of lagging a bit in doing that, I'm going to try to step in more than I have been and just remind that we do that. When people are speaking, we always have to ask them to state their name for the record. So I've noticed some people are forgetting about doing that or just giving their first name. So the first thing they say when they hit the microphone or on the phone is what's their name. No one has to give their address. It's just their name. So once you guys, so then we close the public hearing and then it's your discussion, your deliberation. So hopefully while you're listening to everything, plus your earlier research, hopefully you have some ideas that you want to share with your colleagues. And I think this, I'm not so sure about this, whatever it's going to be. And you share all that and we kind of go down the line. A lot of these items have many moving parts. It's better to not discuss those moving parts one by one with all of you weighing in on one and then all of you weighing in on the other. It's better if we can all get those out and I can keep notes or Ani will keep notes. Maybe the chair also keeps notes because there's going to be agreement on some things, hopefully a lot of those things. And then there'll be like 5 items that I didn't hear consensus on, and then we can go back and say, okay, I didn't hear consensus on this, this, and that, so let's talk about those. All without opening the public hearing to talk to the applicant, because especially with a few recent cases, we've opened it, talked to them, closed it, open, or not even saying open and close. We've just had a dialogue back and forth, stepping into the other room to consult with people on the phone. All of that's not what we're supposed to be doing. So I just hope you guys keep this in mind, and then we could hopefully run a tighter ship, but still get all of the ideas out, everything that you guys want to ask and talk about out. And then what I recommend is that before you vote, we open the hearing, bring the applicant back up, say, do you have any questions? Do you have any thoughts or questions about the conditions, if it's a Mills Act application? Do you have any questions or thoughts about the Mills Act items? Let them have time to talk to you about that. But never forget that you staff has a recommendation on the Mills Act. You have the power on the Mills Act to say, yes, we think this is important. And if they're not happy with the Mills Act conditions, they have another crack at it at council to tell council, we don't want to do this. And they also have the ability to not apply for the Mills Act, to go to council and say, they have the ability to not go to council, not get the Glendale Register, or they can go to council, not get the Glendale Register, but not sign a Mills Act contract. So they have a lot of steps they can do after they leave this room. So keep that in mind also. And that's basically what I wanted to share. And Ani and I are going to try to be better about helping guide you through that. And I know that I'm going to get involved, and Ani's going to give me a kick under the table. So, but do you have any thoughts or questions about this?
Commissioner Durham.
I have a question, Jay. This doesn't come up here, at least not since I've been on the commission, but it comes up a lot at DRB, where the first presentation is by the owner of the property or oftentimes a consultant. And they have a certain amount of time to speak, whether it's 5 or 10 minutes. And then and a lot of times there are residents of the neighborhood who are often opposed to the proposed project. And then they get to speak, but only for like 3 minutes each. And then the consultant or owner has a chance to come back up and rebut
Right.
for 5 minutes the comments that were made against the project. But if we ever got into that there was some controversy about, it's unlikely, but that would be the process here as well.
And I should have thought of that, because this is a happy place. We usually have nice things happening, but we have, on numerous occasions, actually, we've recommended not approving a property for the Glendale Register, and it would be the right thing to allow the applicant to rebut that. But usually they already know that, because the staff report's been issued, they get a copy of the staff report, so usually they're going to be able to address that in their first statement. So they wouldn't so much need a rebuttal period. But we could play that by ear if we felt that there was more for them to say. Maybe we could make an official rebuttal period, or if they thought of something new. So I think we've always been a very flexible commission, and maybe, like I was saying, maybe a little too much so, and there's still room for flexibility, definitely. So I think we can figure that out.
Okay, so I think this is really good. I think at least over the last year since I've been here, I've seen like different incidences of this where we've had, applicants come up, come back down, come up, come back down. We always got what we needed out of that process, and it worked, but I also understand what you're saying is that that could be a little bit loose.
Yeah, and this isn't just this year. It's not under your chairmanship. This has been going on for a long time. I recognize it, and I blame myself for a lot of that. But I think what might help you guys in terms of just tightening up the timeline of the meetings, think about Shanaz sitting there waiting to go home, her head just hovering over us, and think about our friends at GTV6 who are really ready to go home at 5 o'clock, but they know this is their job to do this. But the earlier we can all go home, the better, and still do our jobs. So,
Okay.
so think about those guys, but and I will too. So.
Okay, so I took down some notes, so I just want to read this back because I want to be sure I'm clear on this. So in an ideal situation, we're going to have here a staff report on an item.
Right.
We will have done our homework already, and we're going to ask you some questions about the staff report. After we get done asking our questions about the staff report, we're going to open the hearing. And it could be the property owner, it could be the property owner's consultant, it could be members of the public, right? Okay? At that time, we are going, after those people speak, we ask them questions at that time if we have them, while they're up,
Right.
right? Okay. And at a certain point, we're not asking them any more questions. We're going to close that hearing, close the public hearing, and then we're going to have a discussion among ourselves about what we heard.
May generate more questions that ideally you're jotting down.
And so that comes to the last point, which I want to make sure I got this right, and that is before the vote that the applicant comes back up. And then if we do have any more questions, they may not necessarily come back up, they may not need to, but we may provide them the option to come back up at the end, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if something's getting gnarly and complicated and you want to reopen the hearing while the thoughts are all fresh in your heads and it's more than you think can wait until the end, you're allowed to reopen the hearing.
Right.
That's not a big deal.
Right.
But let's not do it every time a little
Tidbit comes up.
question pops into everyone's head, so.
Okay. Got it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, Mike?
Okay, so if there's something that we noticed on the property that we wanted to ask a question about, do we do that after the staff report or after the owner has spoken and we're conversing?
Ideally, after the staff report. I was going to mention that. I was going to mention at one of the house that was under consideration last month, only one commissioner went on the site visit. And we're not like the hotel concierge, so we're not going to be taking reservations and telling the people how many of you are coming. But if you know you're not going to be going before the Friday before the hearing, let us know so that we can tell the people only 2 commissioners are coming. That way they know once 2 people have come through the house, they're free for the rest of the weekend. And that's not a rule. If you can possibly do that, that would be great. Ideally, all of you are going to go on the site visits, and I think for most of the time that you guys have been with us, I think you've been pretty good about that, and it was just a fluke last time. But however it works, it would be great, because you guys see conditions that sometimes when we're looking, we don't see them, or we think, and that's kind of a judgment call that we make for a variety of reasons that we probably shouldn't in some cases, but we did. So it's great that because you're never going to make those calls unless you're looking directly at the place. So that's my little ask.
Apropos of that, would it be appropriate for each commission member, when we start discussing it after the public hearing is closed, to state whether they have done the on-site visit? I mean, we do have enough, it's not a prerequisite, because with the staff report and the pictures we get, you can make a determination, but there is an additional layer of knowledge you get from actually visiting the site.
Well, I think transparency in many different ways. The site visit is a wonderful opportunity for that envelope to be exchanged. So just kidding. But yes, that would be a good thing to do, I think.
Where's Venmo now, Jay?
Oh, I forget about this technology, right? But yes, that would be a good thing to do for technology, for transparency. So yes, I'll try to remember to help you guys remember. So, but sure. Okay.
Anything else on that?
That's helpful for you guys?
Very much so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you. Good to know.
I didn't want to sound like a scold, but it just crossed my mind that things have been looser and looser, and I was like, oh God, I've really let things go to hell.
No. It sometimes has felt a little bit loose, but again, because I felt like we were getting, I found a lot of it quite constructive. And then
I enjoy
that
it.
doesn't mean we have to do it. I mean, we're not going to, we'll tighten up the ship, but I think it was good because we found a way to get the answers we needed. It just took forever.
Okay, well, the reason I wanted to do this before the item is to see this in action while it's fresh.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, okay. Are we done with that item?
hope so.
Okay, great. So now we're going to go on to agenda item 7A, which is going to go very quickly because according to this agenda, 1620 Idlewood Road has been continued to the next regularly scheduled Historic Preservation Commission hearing on November 20th, 2025. So that's off the list altogether. So that brings us to agenda item 7B. 1855 Verdugo Knolls Road for a Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application, PMA hyphen 0010 hyphen 2025.
Sorry, Daniel. When an item's continued, we have to read it into the record and then say.
did.
You just did?
I just did. You were talking, Donnie, the whole time.
Totally ignoring you. I'm so sorry.
I heard for the record.
The photo says 7A.
Right?
The photo?
What about it?
Bonnie's the boss now. Sorry.
Yeah, agenda, okay, yeah, and just that says 7A, but it's 7B. So yeah, that's okay. We got it.
Sorry
So
about
that's
that. Yeah,
okay.
that's just-
No problem. So anyway, so we covered 7A regarding 1620 Idlewood Road. And now we are on to agenda item 7B, 1855 Verdugo Knolls Road, Glendale Register nomination and Mills Act application, PMA 00102025. All right, so are we going to start off with the staff report now?
Thank
Okay.
you, Chair Paul.
You're welcome.
I will go ahead and start on the staff report. Just let me get myself situated here. Okay, so the property before you today is 1855 Verdugo Knolls Road. It's an application for the Glendale Register and the Mills Act nomination. So the residence is located in the Verdugo Woodlands neighborhood of North Glendale. It's located on the east side of the Verdugo Woodlands neighborhood. Let me zoom in a little bit closer on the aerials. You guys know I love aerials whenever I start a presentation. So this one is very interesting, and this kind of gives us an idea of the property. It's this crescent-shaped property that kind of hugs and encircles the rear yard. It sits slightly above street level, and so this kind of gives you an idea of what you're seeing when you're driving up the street. The garage is accessed right off the street, but there's a small covered roof that's attached to the garage that shades the walkway as you enter the primary residence. And the garage is built in the same materials. It has the same roof line and similar features as the primary residence. Like I said, the house is accessed by a set of stairs in brick, stone, and concrete. It's very whimsical. It has some sort of interesting texture to it as you're walking up. And so this is another view of the property, not from street level, but to give you an idea of that landscaping. The land was originally subdivided in 1922 by real estate broker Thomas B. Nichols and Harry Silas Grawl. There was a sale of this specific lot that eventually fell through, and after that that sale fell through, it was actually sold to Ruth K. McBride in November of 1923. She was born. We don't have any photos of her, so I'm just going to keep it on this slide. She was born in 1880 in New Jersey, and she was the second of 4 daughters. Besides basic biographic information, unfortunately, there isn't much information found about Ruth McBride, but we do know that in 1922, she was issued a U.S. passport for a 3-month international trip to China, Korea, and Japan, which sounds so lovely, to be honest. And as soon as she came back, that's when she decided that she's going to pull the permits to build this beautiful, whimsical storybook house. No photos of Henry Edward Nash Sr., who was the builder, the contractor for the property, so I'll keep it on this to kind of get an essence of the style and the texture of the house, too. He was born in England in 1878. He moved to Philadelphia with his widowed mother by 1900, and by 1910, him, his wife, and his son were already living here in Eagle Rock, actually. He was working as a movie studio carpenter. Eventually, he established his contracting business, but he kept working in the film industry. And as I was reading the application, I thought that's interesting considering the storybook style of the house in the 1920s. So here's another view where I'm kind of going to give you guys a little like visual tour as we're going around because there's so many different massings. So it almost looks like it's straight out of a storybook. This photo over here, you can see that very dramatic curved gable that sweeps down and gives it that whimsical appearance. And here in the back, truly, you can see how it curves over the primary massing. And to me, this is kind of like that central area that hugs the back courtyard. We're looking at the rear elevation. So although it was built at once, all of the different elevations and the way that they kind of connect feels like it was almost built over time in this very cottage-like way, which I know I'm using probably a little bit more colloquial terms, but the way that they come together, when you look at the roof line over here and all of the different volumes, it kind of contributes to that English storybook revival style property. So as we take another look over here, I thought this was interesting. It's a curved gable, but this is the only one that has that clipped gable at the very end, and you can also see it on this elevation too. On this elevation, we have these two groupings of casement windows that are very symmetrical. They have that heavy wood lintel on the top and wood sills, whereas other elevations have some more whimsical features. I'll show them in just the next slide. It also has a variety of different stucco chimneys as well. There's actually one that's on the garage, and you can see that on the bottom left corner over here. The rest are on the house, and there's one prominent one that's visible in the back when you look at it, and it's kind of projecting outward with some of the exposed brick. Here are some other features on the residence, which it has, as you can see in this bottom photo, it has the exposed brick, it has wood posts at every corner of the property, and it has this very unique, large, slightly recessed wood plank door with ironwork on it. I know we don't count the interiors for the Glendale Register, but I'm only mentioning this in terms of the whole concept and the planning of the house, where you can kind of see that ironwork continue onto the inside. So there's a lot of planning and involvement with the overall design of this house, even though it seems like it's different massings and kind of creating a crescent shape. Here are some of the other features of the windows. There's a lot of different styles of windows. We have stained glass, leaded glass, there's casement windows, there's fixed windows, there's hung windows. So really the window opening pattern varies and kind of contributes to that very storybook, whimsical English Tudor revival style. Some of them, as you can see on this top left corner, are angled in a very interesting way too, and others even follow the curve of the gable as well. Not all of them, but even though they're all different styles of windows, they all come together in a cohesive manner. They all have the wood sills. They're all wood framed windows. They have the heavy wood lintels above them. So it's done in a very intentional way, but you can still get this element of cottage-like charm, a little bit, and I typically don't like using charm whenever it comes to historic properties, because charm and historic are not the same thing, but in this case, the house itself is built with charm. So as I move forward, this property actually, considering how many property owners there were in its century-old history, it changed a lot of hands throughout its lifetime. It actually has not been altered much, which is very rare. A lot of it is still in original condition. The stucco is its original unique texture, all of that exposed brick, all of the windows that we saw. The only one alteration that has been noted is the replacement of the original garage door. Originally, it was replaced in the 60s or 70s. You can see it on the left-hand photo, and there was a little bump out, which I assume at that time cars were getting longer, they were getting bigger, so this happened often with a lot of the older, smaller garages. But more recently, it was replaced again. So what you're seeing on the bottom right-hand side is what the current garage door is. Because it's so visible from the street, staff has included a recommendation to replace the garage door with a more compatible style for this architectural style of the house. But with everything being said, after reviewing the application and seeing the property, staff believes that the property is eligible for listing under criterion 3 because it is a distinctive and exemplary example of a storybook English revival style home with many unique characteristics, and because it has not been altered throughout its 102-year-old history, it retains high historic integrity, and so staff believes it is eligible for criterion 3. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and I am available if you have any questions, and so is the applicant team and the property owner.
Okay, great. So we're going to ask our questions of staff now. Do you have questions? Go ahead.
Hi, Ani. Thank you for such a great presentation. My question is, what does staff think a more compatible garage door in general would look like compared to the replacement?
I think that's something that we would probably look at whenever they bring it forward to do the work. I don't know, Jay, if you had anything in mind, but looking at this, it doesn't feel like it's completely like matches the style of the house. Maybe potentially like a tilt up or more carriage style. I don't know if you had anything in mind.
Generally, over the years, the commission has asked for wood doors. So I'd say starting with a wood door, even the 60s and 70s door looks better than this door. Since we don't want to create a false sense of history, no carriage door, I would say something that's just a horizontal plank type of door, which could be a roll-up door, which on a horizontal, you don't even see the horizontal joints on those. Maybe the boards would be a little wider than what's on the upper left-hand example there. But something kind of simple, painted brown to match the rest of the trim.
Thank you.
There could be other options. So we generally work with the applicant to make sure it's something they like, but that would be the direction.
No, that helps me a lot. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Barkanian.
How many storybook revivals are there in Glendale? Are there any other ones that you know of or that you've classified as historic?
Yeah, it's funny, we discovered one in North Glendale on the backs, a detached building on the back of a Craftsman that had been so altered. It had been surveyed, the Craftsman was altered, so we let them tear it down. But when we went to investigate, it was like, whoa, where'd this house come from? Crazy tilted gables, weird little balcony with weird kind of woodwork on it. So we worked with the applicant who came around from wanting to tear that down to saying that he loved it. It's still there today, saved. So that was a great victory for us. The design of the 3-unit condo is fine. We worked with them on it and it's fine, but we saved the storybook. I don't know if you guys went on the recent Glendale Historical Society tour, but there's an amazing, amazing, amazing storybook on Spencer Street, just off of Pacific. There's one just off of Cottage Grove, not in the historic district, that's kind of a tchotchkified Tudor revival that has a rolled roof and is kind of a storybook. Not a pure example, but it's a hybrid, I'd say. And am I missing one? Ani, do you know, is there another one? That might be it. So 3 that we know of, 2.5 that we know of, I'd say.
We may find more.
Oh, I'm sorry, plus this, so 3.5 that we know of.
Nice.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's good to know.
Yeah, when we found the one up in North Glendale in Piedmont, I put out a call to the Historical Society asking, has anyone seen any others? Because we'd never like to say it's the only one or it's unique or anything, and no one could think of any others, even though that one on Spencer, which is on a dead-end street that unless you're going to see someone, you wouldn't go down that street, and no one knew about it. So now we know about these 4.
And in your research, any historic photos, architectural plans? Usually we see those in kind of the
So,
background research.
when we received the application, staff did their due diligence and tried to follow up. In my research, I wasn't able to find any additional information. I'm not sure if, since the application submittal, perhaps the applicant team has something new. But on behalf of staff, we were not able to uncover any additional photos.
Yeah, drawings and photos of these places are pretty rare. And when we find the drawings in particular, it's something that has been passed down from owner to owner, and it lived in the attic or in the garage or something. But our library doesn't have that kind of stuff. We don't have it here, not in our digital archives, so
And
it's super rare.
I think because our permits also didn't include the architect on them often, a lot of the time, well, almost all of the time, that it's a little bit harder to also pinpoint an architect and perhaps look through their archives if anything like that would have been possible.
And there's a house in Eagle Rock that reminds me of this, so I think it's interesting that the guy was in Eagle Rock. Charlie Fisher may know the Agas house. He can talk about that when he comes up. But it's not the same, but it reminds me a little bit of it, very quirky. So who knows?
Okay, question?
So if I notice something when I was on site, is now the time to bring it up? Or afterwards?
Yeah.
So I don't,
See it in your colleagues' heads, so.
okay, so I don't know if it's relevant because I don't think you can view it from the street, but the gate that connected the house and the garage under the awning, there was like one portion of it that was modern and the different material than the rest. So that was just something that I noticed, whether or not that's an issue.
I would like to, which gate?
Do you see the gate there? Yeah, that's that one, the brown one. And it like is right under the awning there. And then, most of the gate, I took pictures of it. Most of the gate is like one material, and then there's one section that's a different modern material.
Yeah, and that's exactly
Right
the,
there, yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I think would be probably good to discuss and bring up after this is actually perfect.
yeah.
Okay, great.
But what you can do is make that a Mills Act recommended condition, and we could say pending staff review of your photograph kind of thing, so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. I had a question about it. It appears that there was once a water feature back there, a waterfall and a little stream that looks dry.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it looks like it probably went to something that's now filled in off the patio, and I was wondering if there was any discussion or talk about possibly bringing that back.
Jay, I don't know if for water features, is that something that we would add as a condition? Or we could, yeah, I guess we have.
The Scherer House that was just the site of the TGHS Gala, if any of you went, had 2 fountains that were dry, and one of the Mills Act conditions was to bring that back. We had another house that was the site of a former TGHS Gala, had a dry fountain that was brought back as a condition. So there's no reason not to. I remember seeing it, it was kind of overgrown. We would probably go back and look at that to just check if it has the age value. It did seem pretty old, if I remember it. But if it were something that was added, whimsically in the 1960s, it would be different than, but that could be a condition for staff to investigate, and if it appears to be an early feature of the house, to restore it if feasible to operating condition, kind of condition.
Okay, so then for the recommendation, it would be a recommendation that staff investigate the feasibility of returning the water feature.
Yeah, that's what we did with Scherer Lane.
Okay.
And there's another house on Cortez that we did that, where we weren't sure if piping, because sometimes, especially if it's a feature that's built into the house, sometimes going in and trying to do that is going to be more damaging to tile work or something. And so we may want to step back from that. Every case is a little different, so we don't want to have to commit someone to doing something that could open a can of worms.
Right.
But this probably wouldn't, so.
And is there I'm assuming the period of significance for this is the year the house was completed?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Sorry, I keep reversing my microphone. I turn it off to speak, so I actually don't know if any of what I said was actually caught, but yes.
Okay. All right. And that's it. Yeah. So you mentioned, yeah, I was going to ask the same question about historic era photos. Sounds like nothing was found offhand. Maybe Charlie found something later. Maybe not. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But I think, do you have any other questions? Okay.
I don't.
We're good? Okay. So at this point, I'm going to open the hearing, and I have 2 speaker cards. And I'm going to start off with who I assume is the property owner. Is that right? Victoria Durant? Victoria Durant, please come up to the microphone and state your name into the microphone, but don't state your address.
Wow.
Victoria Durant.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Okay, this room brings me back to my poli-sci days at Whittier College. So I love it. Yeah, my intent in purchasing this home was to live there. But I have some foot and ankle issues. As you can see, there's a number of steps up to the house, and that's derailed my plan. But I have basically fallen in love with this house. As I think it was said multiple times, it's very magical and charming, and I have a lot of nostalgia for a house in South Pasadena that was my grandparents' house. And it was 1926 Spanish Revival. And when I walked up the steps to this house, it brought me back to my childhood. And I spent a lot of time at Disneyland as a kid. And when I found out that the builder of this house was English, my grandparents were British Canadian. And so it has a lot of history for me personally. And the irregular windows are, very unique. I saw a similar home in South Pasadena that was the Anheuser-Busch office, that was Busch Gardens, very similar to this house, but only less than 900 square feet. This being over 1,500 square feet, I was like, you can live in this house. So in any event, the fireplace is, I think, the real showpiece of the house if you guys went inside. And I've taken the past 2 years of my life, spent a ton of money restoring all the tile work and making sure that it looks like 1924. So it's not just the outside. The gate that you're talking about, that was there when I got there. The fountain, I deliberately took out because it was, in my opinion, an eyesore. It wasn't a very attractive fountain. It wasn't even a fountain, it's more like a empty ditch. There was no water in it, and I was concerned about mosquitoes because they are a real problem around here. And I'm figuring it would be a cesspool for mosquitoes. So that was why we took it out. I think the house, says it all. I mean, I can tell you guys why it qualifies, but I've been told that the Mills Act will make it difficult to sell, and there's pros and cons, but I don't care because I bought this house to save it, and I really, want it to be here another 100 years, and I've made significant improvements to make sure it's still standing in 100 years. It is bolted to the foundation. It's very earthquake friendly, and anyway, I affectionately call it Snow White's Cottage. I've never called it anything other than Snow White's Cottage, and I hope that this can all work out, and I appreciate you guys having this job and trying to save old homes because it's a noble endeavor. So thank you.
How long did you live there?
I haven't lived there.
Oh, you haven't?
I've been literally working on it with contractors for 2 years, and I've had some really sketchy people that have disappeared, and it's taken me a long time. And also, I was living in a land of delusion that my ankle would get better, and it hasn't, and it's a chronic condition that I've struggled with. And so the love of the house it's really hard for me to sell it, but I want to make sure that the next owner doesn't destroy it, because there's another house up the street that they're trying to demolish, and the neighbors are very much against it, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen to my house. So it's a really special neighborhood, and and managed to survive the fires, and I think there's a reason for that. So,
When did you purchase the house?
2023, so 2 years ago.
just
Yeah,
2
it was
years ago.
October, actually. I think it was
Okay.
escrow closed on the 18th.
Wow, 18th is in a couple days.
Exactly, it's been almost 2 years.
I don't have any more questions for the property owner. Do you have any questions for the property owner? Go ahead, Commissioner Durham.
I noticed on your, I think it was the Mills Act application in the packet, that, you cited some of the work you've already done. For instance, exterior painting, earthquake retrofitting, which sounds like it's already been completed. I had one question on there was something about maybe dual pane window replacing single, there was something about,
All the windows have been restored. That's the number one reason why it's taken so long. The guy that was working on the windows, it's a huge job. That's why people get new windows.
Oh.
Because they're more efficient and they're quick and easy and cheaper. But no, the windows have been restored. They're single pane. They are original.
okay.
And there's no
It-
leaks as of today. I looked yesterday.
see here, I don't know what S/S class installed in 7 wood sash windows
Want me to look
represents.
at it? Do you want me to look at what you're?
SS is single strength, which means single pane,
Okay, I didn't know what SS meant, so,
Oh, is that single
single strength.
strength?
Okay.
Yeah, it means not double. Yeah, okay.
Thank
Anything
you.
else?
no, I think that was my
Is your
question.
only question, Commissioner Bartini?
How much work do you have left in the house, if plumbing wise, electricity, yeah?
Key. It's ready to go. It's everything.
Everything works?
Yeah, everything works. The toilets, yeah.
I just wanted to compliment you on the house. I saw it outside and inside, and it's beautiful. You've done a great job.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it. My baby.
Okay, and we have one other speaker card for agenda item 7B, and that is Mr. Charles Fisher. Charlie, good to see you.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were on this commission, and I sat down and I didn't see your name, and I started listening. I'm not used to the glasses, and I started listening. That sounds like Daniel Paul, and then oh, it is Daniel Paul, because I've known you almost as long as I've known Jay, and that's been quite a while now. Anyway, this house was one of the fun ones I did. I have written over the years over 200 successful nominations in several cities and some in Ventura County as well. And this is only the second storybook-type house that I've dealt with. I dealt with another one over in the Los Feliz Hills a while back, which happens to be right next door to the murder house, if you've heard that story. And he said, yeah, that's the murder house. Oh, okay. Anyway, this particular house, Ani did such a great job doing the history and all, I didn't really need to get into it that much. It's always fascinating doing work in Glendale because of this whole deal with the architect. I said, there's got to be an architect on this house, but we couldn't find it. I did a lot of digging, looking for, see if we could find something. I was talking to Jay earlier today, I was working on another one that the permit does not have an architect on it, but the permit for the retaining wall that was taken out later in the month does. And I'm positive it's the architect for the house because it's the type of work he did. And he's got 2 monuments under his belt in LA. But in this particular case, we just couldn't find anyone to go with. And I'm going to take a look at that one over in Eagle Rock that you mentioned and see if we've got something going. Because unfortunately, Eagle Rock permits don't always have architects either when you can find them. But if it was built before 1923, it would be before Eagle Rock was part of the city of LA. So anyway, just hope that you vote for this, and I think you will.
Okay,
And this is the third one I've done today. The other two had one thing going for them. They were stone houses, one in Tahunga and one in Sunland, and they both had, one of them had plenty of construction photos, which was fascinating. And the other one had a lot of early photos of the family and the house and everything, showing that it hadn't changed over the years. And unfortunately, we didn't have that luxury with this one.
okay. Thank you, Charlie. Okay, are there any questions? As Charlie sits down, were there any questions for Charlie? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing.
Can you ask if there are any callers? Ask if they're named.
There are no callers, right?
Yes, there are no callers. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Ellen. Thank you.
I forgot to mention, some chairs actually wield the gavel when they open and close, if you're so
I'm not going to do
inclined.
that. I will hit the gavel when the meeting ends.
That'll be
I did
fun.
that last time.
Okay.
But I'm going to do it this month, and then after that, I'm going to let everybody else hit the gavel, because I don't want to hit the gavel every month. So,
I'll have to talk to Mike Garcia about that.
oh, that's right. I may not be able to share that.
I'll check Jurassic Parliament.
Check Jurassic Technology. It's very cathartic to hit it, though. I want everybody to have that experience, you know. I'm democratic that way.
Everyone's going to be chair at some point.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I found out today I'm not going to be chair after December.
What?
Yeah.
We rotate the chair every year.
We do? Oh, okay.
Well, now we have had chairs, if people are reluctant to be chair, we've had chairs serve for multiple years,
Right.
or at least 2 years in a row sometimes. So it's not a guarantee, but it's a vote of the commission, so.
Either way. Okay. Well, okay, so we don't have any callers, and we are done with the, I'm going to close the public hearing. And now, I'm going to discuss this amongst ourselves. That's what we're doing now. We're going to discuss this amongst ourselves. So, the house seems quite special in a lot of ways, especially Commissioner Bartanian. I really appreciated your question about how many storybooks are there in Glendale. I thought there were more, but I guess there's really not that many. So I think this is kind of a rare example of its kind in the city. I actually landmarked a complex of storybook houses in Los Angeles called the John Van Pelt Estate. Pendragon Haven, and those two were also, there was no architect. The builder ended up building a lot of it themselves. And as I think Ani mentioned earlier, the fact, or somebody mentioned earlier, the fact that there's a studio connection, that maybe there, and maybe they knew somebody who worked at the studio who did this. But it's a very special design. I wish we could find more historic era pictures. It's just not the case. I'm guessing, and I'm wondering if there was once more stuff on that house than there is now, besides the one lantern and a couple of other things. But I don't think that necessarily takes away from the integrity of what we have. And before I finish on my comments, just to go back to the water feature, I understand why the owner replaced it or fixed it, but I'm guessing that water feature is probably, an investigation will bear this out, but I'm guessing it's an older water feature that just wasn't properly maintained or engineered from a long time ago, and hence mosquitoes and the like, and I still think it would be wonderful to bring that back. Okay. Any other comments on this item? This is where we discuss amongst ourselves.
I mean, what I'm having trouble with on this one is that, you know, we don't have a famous architect attached to the project. We don't have a famous builder attached to the project. And the property is not really seen from the street. And we have other properties that are also similar around town. So that's what I'm struggling with, that we don't have those fundamentals. But the house is beautiful, it's whimsical, I walked in it, I toured it. But I'm struggling with that part.
Okay. I think you know, just to reply to some of your concerns, a house could have design significance regardless of its visibility from the street, you know? So, I mean, there could be, and if you think about Bel Air, a lot of those houses should probably be protected. They're probably, any old one that hasn't been turned into what looks like a Big Apple store now, you know, they probably have incredible design significance, but the fact that they're not viewable from the street doesn't take away from their design significance. And I think even a point that you brought up earlier, I mean, the fact that there's only a couple of these in the city as storybook style seems to make it pretty rare. And I brought up the point on Pendragon Haven because on that one, that was an exceptional storybook complex. And it didn't, I feel like a lot, I feel like a lot of these probably don't have named architects or builders, because they were probably done by somebody from the studio, unnamed, we don't know for sure. But I do understand your points too, and I think your points are really well taken.
And I think we're judging it as a exemplary example of architecture, right? Not the architect.
What's that?
But you mentioned there was no historic like we don't know the architect, but I think we're judging it as an example of architecture.
Yeah.
That's how it's classified, right?
Yeah.
You're right. So there's the eligibility. The application finds it significant as an example of Storybook as a design system, and there is no name architect. And a lot of times in from my experience at least, you could have a beautiful example of a building and the architect is just lost to history, especially with houses from the 19th century or before building permits. If you go really far back, we don't know who like in older towns, or they have these fires that destroy all their building permits. We don't know, It's not the case here, but yeah.
If I could just jump in with a reminder for criterion 3, which we think of as the architecture criterion, it's got a series of ors built into it. So the house can be significant as a distinctive and exemplary example of a style, type, or period of construction, or as an example of significant work by a designer who influenced his or her profession, or I'm losing the third part.
Engineering.
I think that's in there, but regardless, 90+% of the architecturally significant houses in Glendale, we don't know the architect because we'd never asked for that information on our permit applications. So we only have a few where we know the architect, and even when we know the architect, sometimes they're architects who are like, okay, it's cool to know who that was, but we're not ready to say that it's a significant architect because we don't have a case history to build the body of work. Tim Gregory and Charlie Fisher, who've done these kinds of applications for a while, their files will sometimes have, here are 10 examples of this architect's work, but still we don't have context to kind of place that in. So I'm reluctant to say that, some Postle and Postle are, interesting architects, but did they influence their generation? I don't know. Lloyd Wright, yes, we know that Lloyd Wright is a super significant architect. We're trying to get away from the idea of master architect because just that language isn't cool these days, but that's what we used to say. And then you mentioned builder. I've never seen a building in Glendale where the builder was significant, and I've often said to people, unless it was the builder's own house, like there was, what's his name, Jack Kent was a major builder in Glendale. If we found his house, maybe, but builders build hundreds and hundreds of houses, so we'd have to know their entire career to be able to say that a specific house was associated with him or her, but usually him, to know that that was a significant thing. And then, as one of your colleagues mentioned, the visibility, that doesn't factor in. We have several houses on the register that are up on hills that can't be seen from anywhere until you pull up the driveway to get next to them. We have an amazing Neutra that isn't on the register. Someday I hope it gets on the register, but you can't see it from the street. So, what's that?
We did one together. We voted on a project.
For an invisible one?
Yeah. But it
Yeah,
had
so-
a lot of story behind it, and there was a lot of context and
Yeah,
photos.
so each one's case by case, and that could influence your individual vote.
Yeah.
But as a rule, those things probably shouldn't become major factors in decision-making. But
No,
if it's for you, it is.
Yeah, no,
so.
it's a follow-up question to that, just from a public kind of benefit standpoint, since the owner currently does not live in there and has never lived in there.
Right.
It's likely going to be sold. If a new buyer buys it, right, as a historic property,
Right.
from your department's standpoint, can they redo the inside without any issues, because I'm concerned, right, the kitchen and a couple other areas that people have not really lived in there. It's going to be difficult to kind of situate inside that kind of area.
Yeah,
So like,
that's
from a
both-
permit standpoint, would the new buyer be able to keep the integrity of the house from the exterior standpoint as is, but be able to remodel the inside significantly?
Yeah, that's true. All Millsack properties, we don't look at the interior. Sad to say, for better or worse. I saw a beautiful Spanish interior completely gutted once, and, you know, all the tile from the bathrooms in the dumpster in front the day I went to look at it, and it's like, yeah, you
Yeah.
shed a little tear, and it's like, but the rules, the rules are the rules, so, but that's how Glendale works, so.
Yeah, some of the bedroom access points were small and, you know.
Yeah,
and
but if you visited this house, the interiors are
Yeah.
pretty darn nice, so, but yeah, we would have to let them modify the interior if they wanted
Thanks
to.
for,
Just gotta find the right buyer, so.
Anything else? Okay. Commissioner Bartanian, any other questions? Anything?
No, I mean, I love the house, and I thought it was a beautiful, and I just agreed with the recommendation on the garage door, and then that one gate annoyed me.
Okay.
But other than that, I thought it was great.
Right. Anything else, Commissioner Durham?
I love the house, too. Just in terms of disclosure, I did not do a site visit for this property, but I've seen lots of pictures, photographs of it, and it's really a quite unique storybook English cottage example, and they are very rare, and this one has just wonderful, unique qualities. I like the fact that the builder was from England. He would have been familiar with the English cottage architecture. I love that he worked, I mean, we can't prove any of this, but I love that he worked for movie studio, because I'm a fan of old movies and Turner Classic Movies, and it does remind me so much. There is a little bit of a fantasy element in it that I see sometimes when the older movies from the 30s and 40s are set in an English town or country cottage. And I would have done the site visit, I just was feeling under the weather. I have done the other site visits since I've been on the commission, just to let everyone know. And I think it's really worthy of being added to the register and given a Millsack contract. I like the fact that the owner's seeking a Millsack contract, which would basically guarantee the exterior, elements of this example of storybook English. It would preserve it. Whereas if she sells it without a Millsack contract attached, someone could even tear it down. So to me, it's quite a good example and very special and very just unique. There's so much character to it, inside and out. So other than the recommendation for the replacement of the garage door with a simpler wood door and the gate, which I didn't see in person, but I'll take Commissioner Cusack's word for it. With those two commissions, I'd be in support of the register designation and Millsack contract. Thank you.
Commissioner Durham, how do you feel about the water feature and staff's ability to investigate the feasibility of restoring the water feature?
I think, I'm going to abstain on that one since I wasn't able to do the site visit. I don't think it's proper for me to opine because I haven't really seen it.
Right.
I'd rather let the commissioners who visited the site discuss that.
Okay. Yeah, so when I was walking around, thank you, when I was walking around, I, poking around the backyard, there's I don't know if you noticed or not, but there's a covered over waterfall, and then there's a stream, a shallow stream bed that looks like it was handmade. And then it looks like it once spilled into what looks to be newer concrete, and you could tell that was where the pond was. I'm intrigued by the water feature because knowing that this, Commissioner, I just realized that, the builders from England, that's basically Cotswold Cottage. That's Cotswold Cottage storybook right there, with the long low roofs and the rounded edges. That's total Cotswold Cottage. And I think in the Cotswolds, I don't think it would be, out of the ordinary to have a little bubbling brook or stream next to your cottage. And I don't know, I haven't done deep dive research into this property, but I'm guessing that water feature's probably pretty early because of how compatible it may have been with everything else going on in this design. And Jay brought up a good point, and that's that they're not mandating that the water feature be restored as part of this Mills Act condition. It's just, at this point, it would just be an investigation of the feasibility of restoring it. And I would be supportive of that.
Chair Paul, sorry to jump in, but is this the water feature that you're talking about over here? Okay.
Well, this is an active water feature, so it didn't have water in it. These are the real estate photos from before Victoria bought it, perhaps? Yes. Okay.
Before, but I think my understanding is that's been filled in. That's no longer there. So, go ahead, Commissioner Bartini.
My concern is, I like the water feature. I obviously heard the owners speak about it as kind of, I agree with her because I live around there. The mosquito is a problem. However, if we do go down this path and it is feasible to build the water feature, that would stop a future similar kind of cottage. If the new owner wanted to add a similar feature or a similar kind of cottage-style home in the back for additional space, since it's a smaller house, that would stop them from being able to do that, correct?
Well, we don't know at this point what the new owner is.
No, I know, but
Yes.
it would stop them from being able to do that.
I think
because you can't.
there would be I don't know if it would stop them. I think that's more of a question for staff. I think there would be a review of feasible options, and there would be an investigation of where else on that property that cottage may be able to go, or that ADU, or if there's the feasible possibility of incorporating the water feature. I think it's more of a staff question that I don't have the answer to.
Did you hear the question, Jay?
What's that?
Did you hear the question?
Well, I'm mumbling to Ani, but I just, looking at the photos that on Detective Minotsakanian, excuse me, that she found.
Thank you.
Is this about the size of the area you saw, Daniel? Because this looks quite contemporary in this, it looks
when
like
I
one of those
saw-
ponds where you have a plastic bin and surround it with rocks and stuff.
What I saw, well, the thing that first drew me was in the back of this, and I don't think it's in this picture, it looks like there was a waterfall. And it's made of concrete and some sort of water feature. I can't tell. Maybe that was it. I just can't tell from that image, but possibly. If the water features, okay, let me put it this way. If we find out the water feature's new, then forget it. I'm curious to know, I would like to know if it's from the period of significance, though, because I have seen at other storybook houses very similar water features that are older. And I think in other neighborhoods in Glendale, we have concrete small water features. I mean, through one of the districts that we dealt with.
There's a house called Colonial View on West Kenneth, which you don't see from the street, by the way, but you have this amazing faux bois concrete work that has a giant waterfall coming down and a pond. It's the coolest thing. You have a concrete tree stump with a lantern and a little concrete bird perched on the lantern. It's my
If
favorite
this-
backyard in Glendale.
If this
But,
is all like within the last 10 years, but I think
Why don't we just say, first, we see if you gain traction with your colleagues. If you do, we'll make the condition quite broadly written. Well, actually, we'll probably try, before we go to council, we'll try to make the site visit so that we can kind of not burden council with this kind of indeterminate thing, and see if we have any sense of age, like you're saying. But first, we have to make sure that you have support from your colleagues, and then we'll play it that way.
My question earlier was to my colleagues here, as it relates to this water feature, if you were to find out, let's say it's a historic significant water feature we have to bring back, it will prevent from the future development of a future cottage that makes it back to this historic commission for a vote from being built there, right?
Well, right in that specific area, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't prevent probably an ADU or something else going. Well, to be honest,
That's the only area in the property
yeah,
that you have
ADUs,
space.
we have absolutely no design review control over. We can say, move it here to here, but if the owner comes back and says, no, this is the only place that I can have it, we kind of can't say no. So, yeah, but knowing, when I visited, there's probably space where someone could find, I think there's even a little outbuilding, if I remember. There's a shed, yeah, so
Okay.
we can,
I mean, knowing that, you have my support on that condition.
okay. And what I would recommend is we'll put the condition in the council report only if after a site visit that we make before the council hearing, that it's obvious, and I'm going to, obvious, that this is an old feature that in need of restoration.
Right, and I want to be clear that I don't have the answer to that right now. I'm just mentioning that I've seen similar water features on 20s era themed, like storybook houses or even Tudors, and I think it's worth investigating. And maybe as Jay mentioned, with what he just mentioned about the ADU, I mean, so I still think it would be worth investigating to see if this could possibly be a contributing resource, a character-defining feature, because maybe a future owner would love to have that water feature back, too. I suspect the mosquito situation is because whoever owned it before this property owner didn't maintain it right, and a lot of those early fountains, admittedly, I mean, they stand to be better engineered than they were, but I think there's the technology now to remedy that there probably wasn't in the 1920s.
Well, mosquitoes don't like moving water, so if it's moving, they won't hang out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, we'll do our best. Sometimes concrete's concrete and stone is stone, and I can't tell the difference from 1923 to 1953 necessarily, but I'll do my best.
Okay,
So,
right. Okay, do we have any other questions for the property owner or her consultant, whereby they would need to come back up and we would ask them questions? Okay. Okay, then you're not coming back up, and we're not asking you any more questions. Okay, so would one of my commissioners like to draft a motion?
Chair, before you continue, just to probably make it easier, should I just repeat some of the notes that I have on the conditions to help you
Sure.
guys? So the first one, which it seems like there's consensus on, is the staff recommendation for the replacement of the garage door with something more compatible. We'll work with the applicant when they come to us at that point. The second one is staff checking the feasibility for the water feature. Will go out on site before this goes to council to assess the time period and take it from there. And the third one is the replacement of the gate with a more compatible gate for the style and the material of the house. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's just that one spot on the gate.
Okay.
Like, that doesn't match the other. Yes.
no.
I'm sorry. Can we have her come back up?
That is your call.
Please come back up, and you have to speak your question into the microphone.
And what do you say?
And we're going to reopen the public hearing. We're going to reopen the public hearing. We're going to
It'll be
reopen the
great when
public
you-
hearing,
Exercising.
and you need to say your name into the microphone and ask your question.
I'm Victoria Durant, and my
Okay.
question is, would it be possible to just remove that portion of the gate as opposed to replace it with another wood gate?
I wouldn't object to that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think that's what the condition will be.
Okay, that's
Just take off
Thank
the
you.
repair. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to close the public hearing now.
And just to be clear, the stream condition isn't going to be a condition until we
Yes.
visit,
Right.
so,
So it's about, at this point, it's about the feasibility.
yeah.
and it's an investigation. Okay, are there any other questions? Okay. Do I have a commissioner who could draft a motion?
Well, take a stab at it.
Okay, Commissioner Durham.
You can use the paragraph from the staff report now.
I'll do that. I'd like to make a motion that this commission recommend to the city council that the property at 1855 Verdugo Knolls Drive be listed in the Glendale Register of Historic Resources to be known as the McBride House, as it appears to be eligible under Criterion 3 as a distinctive and exemplary example of the Tudor Revival style. Subject to certain conditions elaborated by staff, such as the replacement of the current garage door with a more compatible garage door made out of wood or faced with wood. The other, removal of a portion of a gate that does not match the original gate, and as a, not as a condition, but a recommendation to staff that they assess the integrity and vintage of a particular water feature in the rear of the house. I also recommend that this commission recommend to City Council that they authorize the city manager to enter into a Mills Act contract with the property owner, including the conditions I mentioned before that were noted in the staff report and discussed at this hearing.
That's wonderful. Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay.
Alrighty, Commissioner Bartanian,
Approve. Yes.
Commissioner Cusack,
Yes.
Commissioner Durham,
Yes?
Chair Paul.
Yes.
Thank you. So the motion passes 4-0. Thank you guys so much.
Right, congratulations. Congratulations. It's a beautiful house, and you've done, I just want to say you've done so much wonderful work, and it's, your connection to the house is lovely, and it shows.
I've been looking, I looked for 5 years to find out how to find about it, but hopefully the next owner will not change the inside. But it's doing everything, so it's gonna do it, it just speaks to that. Technical that.
Well, you can a little bit.
Yeah, I can at least investigate. with-
Try.
Thank you for taking so much work to preserve this house. It's lovely.
My father was the president, he was a history teacher, he was the president of the Southern California Historical Society, and I double majored in history, and I'm obsessed with old architecture. I'm a member of the Glendale Historical Society. Arlene Verdor actually took us here to this building for a Glendale Historical Society bus tour. So I've been here before. Glendale's just a fantastic. So,
Did you know Mary Ovnick? She was with the, I think she had been president of Southern California Historical Society for a while, so I'm sure your dad knew her.
he's now 85, so this was years ago. So
Right.
back then.
She's a wonderful lady, so.
Yeah.
But the fireplace and the ingle nook are just outstanding. And the beams and the ceiling in the living room and everything else in the house is very unique, because I saw photos of the inside, so I hope the next owner doesn't change it.
Right, well, thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Charlie. Good to see you. Okay, so we are going to move on
Yes.
to agenda item 8, and we've already discussed 8A, Robert's Rules of Order and Meeting Format Update, but we are going to discuss agenda item 8B now, East-West Glendale Survey Update.
And we have exciting news for you and for the greater Glendale community, which is that the East-West Glendale Survey is tangibly moving forward. with the first public discussion of the East-West Glendale historic context, which is going to be in this room on November 20th, the next HPC hearing. The star item of the agenda, and is it the only agenda item? We have one other. We have several agenda items, but I shouldn't say the star item because we love all of our items. But we're going to have representatives from Architectural Resources Group, ARG, and their subconsultant Historic Resources Group, HRG, will be presenting information about the historic context, which is soon going to be offered to the city in its draft form. And once we review the draft, it will be released for public review and commission review, but that won't happen before the hearing. So that would have been ideal, but the timing just isn't right. But it will be discussed. Things will be shown to you. There'll be slide presentation, and then we'll have to figure out. I'm not sure what the timing will be for the public unveiling, but it's moving forward. We're definitely behind our projected timeline. These things happen. The same team is working on the citywide Pasadena survey, so they're juggling a lot of stuff, and so we're just glad that it's moving forward, and it's great. And I didn't agendize this, but this is an update, so it's not critical, but they're also finishing up the draft of the Cleveland Knoll Historic District Survey, which you'll be interested in. And so that's good news, and that's going to be coming out soon. And then we will be bringing that to the commission for the joint community meeting and Historic Preservation Commission meeting. And I'm not sure if that's going to be, could be January, could be February. So we'll be ready with that soon. We haven't figured this out yet. There's a chance we're going to be canceling the December hearing. We're definitely on for November, obviously. We haven't finalized our decision about December, but it's a possible on, possible off. So you may get a little break for the holidays. Or the holidays, yeah, holidays, of course. So there are a lot of holidays. And that's that. So any questions on that? No? Okay. So make sure to be here on November 20th. It's going to be a good hearing. Big one, exactly.
All right, so it's 6:57 p.m., and we might be getting near the end. Commissioner Durham, do you have a question?
Just for Jay, since I own property in Cleveland Knoll, and I believe Commissioner Cusack does too, we'll be recusing ourselves, so I'm just saying that you would need to make sure the other three members are going to be present for that joint community HPC.
Yeah, I think you can be in the room for the community meeting, which is just an informational meeting. So as a resident, you probably want to be there. But for the decision-making HPC meeting, you can't be there.
Yes,
right.
but would you need the three
well,
other
yes, well, of
commissioners?
course
So
we need
you
the
need
three
to
others.
confirm with them that they're all going to be
Thank you.
there.
Yeah, that's a great reminder. So.
Okay,
At the
anything else?
Sorry, just to add one more thing. At the community hearing portion of that night, no one's sitting at the dais. Everyone is just engaging with the community seats. So
Right.
yeah, there won't be any issues
Yeah,
with like.
it's a strange double header for people who sit through both of those, but that's how the system works.
Yeah,
And
I remember these.
Is it in this room?
yeah,
For the first part and the community part, we're sitting among the crowd. And then,
which is very distasteful.
and then we're just over there. And then suddenly we're like, I remember sitting over there at the end one time, nobody even knew who I was. I was just totally invisible. And then we come up here and they're like, oh, that was one of the commissioners. And, you know, what, it was fine. That's the way I wanted it, you know. But I just it was a good opportunity to listen and to hear what people had to say. And then I think one or two people did ask me a couple questions, and I think we have to probably be quite sensitive about what we say, too.
When you're in the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely, because we don't want to, we have to, I think we need to be mindful about what we tell them if we're asked certain questions, because we're going to be up here voting on it, discussing it.
I would say it's best to say, I can't really talk to you
Right.
right now because I'll be up on the dais and you can ask me questions later.
Right.
So that's
Right.
probably the best way to go.
Commissioner Durham?
And I think for your personal safety, it was probably better that you were anonymous when you were sitting in the crowd.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hope things go differently with the next round, so.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Yes, motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's 7 PM on the dot, and this Historic Preservation Commission meeting is over.